All right guys, Dr. Truesdale back. So we're gonna do something different today. So I had the suggestion from one of my social media experts to respond to John Oliver's special about med spa. So I have not watched this yet. This is all fresh, raw reactions that you're gonna see. So let's dig in, let's see what he says.
Beauty is something that many strive for, and some are willing to go to incredible lengths like this.
I got salmon sperm facial with salmon sperm injected into my face.
Look, if staying young and beautiful requires $800 quarterly injections of salmon gist to the face, then count me out. I'd much rather age the way that I talk at exactly 1.5 speed.
All right, so yes, I have heard about this treatment. I do not currently offer fish sperm to the face as a treatment option in my clinic, but I think the concept of what I've done, a very cursory kind of review, is that it is basically biostimulatory peptides, right? A lot of times they can be helpful because the idea is that there's some anti-inflammatory properties of whatever these materials are. I can't speak specifically about fish sperm. Something that I offer in my office is actually something like exosomes. So exosomes is a treatment, it's also protein, but what you're looking at are these vesicles filled with anti-inflammatory rejuvenating peptides, which basically turn on the cell system to rejuvenate itself. And so it's like ramping up the good stuff and ramping down the bad stuff, and it makes a huge difference for people's skin. I very often recommend this for patients for hair loss, as well as decreasing inflammation post-laser or standalone, or even in combination with things like microneedling. The face after the fine lines, the pore size is smaller, and it increases the ability for your body to lay down collagen. So I can't speak specifically about fish sperm, but I think there might be something behind it. I just would have to dig into that process.
My skin was so glowy, I felt like a glazed donut in the best way.
Okay, well, I love that for you, and it's definitely a refreshing counter to my normal state of feeling like a glazed donut in the worst way, which is to say, sticky, wet, and comprised of a series of soft, doughy pieces of unclear origin.
Yeah, so feeling like a glazed donut sounds pretty awesome. We have a lot of influencers who will reach out to med spas and they can do collaborations. We've done some things like that in my office before, but what I found is a lot of these influencers are really just like clout chasers. They just hop from plastic surgeon's office to plastic surgeon's office. So at least here in Beverly Hills, we're a little bit more discerning about who we kind of collaborate with. Because a lot of times they just want free treatments. Everyone wants to look better, but in terms of being a plastic surgeon, I like my results and the results of my office to speak. If an influencer or someone who has followers wants to come in and have a treatment done, amazing. Please share, that's awesome. But a lot of times it's kind of just like this, you'll see them in a post in this doctor's office, and then down the street, they're in another office getting a new treatment. And so it's just kind of funny, but no, like influencer marketing works and it's real. And the whole concept is that people trust those influencers. That audience can kind of be exposed to a new product, and the product or service that the med spa offers gets benefit from having the influencers talk about them. So it can be a win-win-win situation, but it can get a little bit of nasty, kind of yucky. So we don't really do that as much in my office anymore because of that reason. Wow. Cheap prices, wow. I think it said chin lipo, $25. Don't trust this. People like to have a good time in their office. If you see content in my office, a lot of times the girls who work here, the guys who work here, we're all trying to have a good time. And it's funny because we're in medicine. So we want to strike this balance of having a good time, being fresh, basically kind of capturing eyeballs and attention, but still being professional. Sometimes people take it a little too far. In my office, we definitely have a good time. We joke around, but it's interesting because we're still taking care of people. At the end of the day, it's taking care of human beings, and we have to be professional. So having creative marketing, I'm all for it, but sometimes it goes a little too far. This just looks kind of ridiculous, but hey, they're trying to get eyeballs. We're talking about it. So I guess they're winning.
The music from Halloween might actually be the perfect choice for a med spa, given the Michael Myers mask does look like what happens when the fillers don't hit.
It's got a point there. When fillers don't hit, people can look a little Michael Myers-y.
that provides aesthetic procedures including both medical and non-medical. It's estimated there are more than 10,000 med spas in business nationwide, with the industry generating an estimated $17 billion annually. And
Woo, it's a lot of bread. And it's true, we see them everywhere, even in Beverly Hills. I mean, in Beverly Hills, there are more plastic surgeons than there are probably, it seems like, consumers. A lot of med spas as well, even though it's a very saturated area and they're popping up all around town. People want to feel and look their best. And so I'm not mad at that, but I think what he's about to get into is some of the practices are not as good at some of these med spas. So let's see what he's about to say.
med spa treatments have become so ubiquitous that, as one expert put it, they've been trivialized to the point that patients no longer see it as healthcare.
I think that's very, very true. When treatments are being done at a high frequency, people tend to think of them as commoditized, and they take for granted the fact that we're doing medicine to people. So if you're getting Botox, yes, that's something that you can get on a lunch break and it's very relatively safe. But if you're not going to the right person, or if those people are doing something not, right, kosher, above board, it can actually have serious, devastating consequences, definitely in the realm of filler and lasers. And I see this in my office when people come in, they've had treatments in other places, and they're kind of botched. And they're not botched from surgery, but they're botched from non-invasive things. So let's see what he's getting into.
Some of the procedures do carry the risks of traditional medical care.
You pay for something thinking you're going to get this service done, thinking you're under the care of a doctor, or a doctor is supervising these workers, and there's nothing. There's no regulation.
So there is regulation, and in fact, the doctor should be supervising the care of any treatment. This is very state specific, depending on what the rules are in each state and how much supervision and who can actually perform treatments. But people definitely push the limits. I've heard of stories of people who are not even nurses, not even affiliated in medicine, doing crazy things like lasers, injections, surgery itself. And as you can imagine, without that training, without that kind of regulation in place, people can have really bad outcomes. Bad outcome can happen even under the supervision of a physician, because medicine is medicine and complications happen. But if you're doing it in a manner that is unsupervised, that is outside the borders of regulation, without the expertise needed, people can have really bad consequences. So a lot of these med spas have something called a medical director. A medical director is a doctor who in essence is getting paid a check to be the medical director for these facilities. And I have been approached by countless people to be their medical directors, where they pay me anywhere between $3,000 and $10,000 a month, and I sign charts, or I'm the doctor on record. I say no. And the reason why is my brand is not worth that, and I don't really have any understanding of what the people in those facilities are doing. In fact, I actually had a very famous celebrity reach out to me, and he was trying to start an IV therapy company, and he wanted me to be the medical director for his business. And when I basically asked a bunch of questions about, the medications and the solutions and the workup, it almost was like, hey, I don't really want you to really oversee me. They just wanted the name. And a lot of these places act like that. The medical director is really just someone that they need on the wall, they can say is there, but it doesn't mean anything. The way that a medical directorship works, and it should work for the patient, is that the doctor's overseeing the protocols, understanding the credentialing of the providers there in the office to make sure that they're safe, they're trained, and has a mechanism in place to provide backup and expertise if there is a question. And so if you're in a med spa and you have a complication like a filler injected and it causes blindness or skin death, right? You need someone there who has experience and who can jump right on board and say, hey, here's what we're gonna do, step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And if we do need to do something surgical, I have the expertise to deal with that. And so that's the best way a medical directorship can work. Typically, if the medical director is in the office, is actually participating in the care of the patients, that's the best way. But a lot of these places, they're not. They're just basically collecting checks.
There have been multiple stories of med spa owners being accused of seeking out shortcuts like this.
The 38-year-old esthetician was not licensed or certified when she gave thousands of illegal, counterfeit Botox, Sculptra, and Juvederm injections. Fatinelli later admitted to the feds she buys the injectable drugs from a Chinese supplier through Alibaba.
Crazy. What's even crazier is that these people have actually reached out to me on email, on Instagram. Hey, Dr. Truesdale, low price Botox, low price fillers. And it's like, listen, like, they make it look legit. They make it look like it's actually from Allergan, from Galderma, and it's not, it's counterfeit. And the problem is the quality of these places is not overseen by the FDA. The quality of the products in terms of contamination, in terms of, are you getting what you're actually thinking you're getting? The answer is no. And so people can have bad problems from these counterfeit kind of companies.
And you can find basically anything on Alibaba: facial injections, refrigerated trucks, pet coffins, this animatronic dinosaur.
Animatronic dinosaur looks fire though, I'm not gonna lie.
Not a website that literally advertises this before and after photo next to 3 bottles simply marked logo.
It's so funny because that before and after photo is in, like, I recognize it from like stock imagery online. The advertisement in a lot of these countries, right? Like, they're just trying to get a buck. They'll do unscrupulous types of marketing and selling of products. Recently, I had a video that I was tagged in. One of my followers on Instagram showed me this video on TikTok. This company was advertising, I don't even know what it was, like NAD, some type of supplement. They were using my before and after video of my mom's facelift as the advertisement. If you take this product, you will have this result, right? This happened so many times. But then they had another Beverly Hills doctor who I know who was speaking, and they dubbed his voice. They AI'd his mouth so it looked like he was giving the recommendation, and they were using my before and after. It was super meta, and it was like, oh my God, this is crazy what people are doing out here. So be safe, guys. In the world of AI, in the world of unscrupulous marketing, be careful.
To a med spa that she thought was legitimate for B12 shots and was upsold into getting fat-dissolving injections. And I'll let her pick up the story from there.
I already know where this goes.
Look what she says happened. Dozens of skin lesions erupting across her body, each representing a point where she says she got a needle injection.
So mycobacteria is an atypical bacteria that can actually cause a lot of problems. There's mycobacteria found in water, Mycobacterium tuberculosis. There's all these different variants. It's not a standard type of bug, right? They do weird things. Basically, it sounds like this procedure was done either asterilely, basically not with a sterile technique, or the actual product itself was inoculated with this bacteria. And so they basically seeded her with bacteria. I'm glad she's speaking and she's alive, because these kind of things, you can die from this kind of thing. You can get sepsis and very quickly die. First off, like second off, third off, I don't even know what number. Injections to dissolve fat have not been basically fruitful. Even in the face, right? People will do things like Kybella. I do not recommend Kybella. Kybella is basically shots of basically bile salts that dissolve fat in the neck. I don't recommend it for many reasons. One, you go through this bullfrog phase. You have to do it 3 times. You can actually get nerve damage from it. It leaves behind scar. It's just a mess. And it's just not as effective. A lot of times when people have a lot of, fat, let's say they have a double chin, something like that, you're better off going with something like neck liposuction with some face tight, or a true neck lift. A lot of times it's a neck lift. By trying to get around things quickly, the fast way, can end up causing a lot more problems. And so, guys, just be careful. Basically, John Oliver has outlined a lot of things that can make you super, super afraid about med spas. And to some extent, you should be. Everything in life is all about understanding the nuance. And the nuance here is, if a med spa is providing a service in an ethical manner, in a safe manner, then it is completely appropriate. Definitely get that beautiful treatment that you want, but it needs to be done in a safe manner. So you need to know, like, what are the protocols in place? Who is doing this service to me? What is their experience level? And what are the backup protocols if something were to go wrong? All of the providers here at Truesdale Facial Plastic Surgery have been trained by me specifically, and are all basically real nurses, physician assistant, nurse injectors, nurse practitioners. Everyone has an actual degree, right? They're licensed to do what they do. They've been trained by me, and we have every single safety protocol in place if something were to happen. And thankfully, our safety profile is very high, and we have not had major complications. So I think overall, some of this is obviously it's kind of clickbaity, it's going after kind of the devastating, awful things. Thankfully, you know, because they're so ubiquitous, complications are quite rare, right? In terms of big, devastating complications. And so overall, I think med spas provide an amazing service for people all around the world to feel better about themselves. Listen, I'm in the beauty industry, but everything needs to be done safely. And so if this brings awareness and maybe saves a patient or two from having a problem, by all means, please put out content like this. It's hilarious. You know, hopefully we have less examples to have laughter because of patients' like awful outcomes. And so stay safe out there, guys. Hopefully you've enjoyed this kind of content. See you soon.